Chapter 4. Knowledge and Refuge. Gnan and Ashro. Maharaj has illustrated 4 ways in which one can recognize the Pratyaksh Swarup, God in human form, as described in Vachanamrut Gadda Pratham 27 and Gadda Pratham 62. The 4 ways are known as Gnan, Priti, Dasatva and Prapatti. Gnan, Priti, Dasatva and Prapatti are the 4 angs, fundamental characteristics with which we worship the Lord. Maharaj has also illustrated the main obstacles one would come across depending on one's main fundamental characteristic. The spiritual knowledge we are trying to understand is extraordinary, and thus to grasp its concepts with our modest intellect, heart and mind can seem quite daunting. Muktanand Swami once commented that there are only a few who even have the inclination to recognize God in human form. And of those few, how many will actually achieve it? Totally selfless worship without any ulterior motives in order to benefit others, performed by a person who is egoless, is beyond imagination. Maharaj and Gunatit Swami proclaimed that they descended on earth to free us from our selfish desires. The 4 main angs are those of Gnan, Priti, Dasatva and Prapatti. Bhagatji Maharaj's ang was Priti, Jaga Swami's was Gnan, Yogiji Maharaj's was Dasatva. Each one utilized their angs to their fullest capacity and became God-realized saints. We do not have the same determination as them to apply our ang. However, the ang known as Prapatti would suit us all. Yogiji Maharaj encouraged everyone to apply this ang and progress in their sadhana. For those who have a deep desire to attain redemption of their souls, Maharaj has stated that the easiest and best way to achieve this is to surrender completely, without any reservations, as illustrated in Vachanamrut Vartal 5, also known as Prapatti Marg. Prapatti Yog is the total dependence on the Pratyaksh Swarup. It means placing total faith in Him. Prapatti Yog is to take refuge in the God, realized saint, with absolute faith that He will do whatever is best for us. Just as a helpless child clings to its mother, relying on her, so we must rely on the Lord. Puja Yogiji Maharaj advocated Prapatti Yoga. Our sadhana is to constantly remain submerged in smruti whilst taking refuge in the God-realized saint. However, we must refrain from formulating fixed opinions about devotees based on how we perceive them, i.e., we should not ponder on their vices. Yogiji Maharaj has blessed us by affiliating us with God-realized saints, and to constantly remember them is equivalent to remembering God Himself. We will firmly accept this as the truth because continuously remembering the God-realized saints will mean that we are gradually freed from worldly attachments and worldly desires. The only prerequisite for wanting to attain the bliss and happiness of Akshardham is Prapatti Yoga. Prapatti Yoga can be summarized as follows. Simply take refuge in the God-realized saint, have total faith in him, Ashro. Constantly remember him, Smruti. Always remain happy and contented in the knowledge that you have attained an association with God. This is known as Prapatti no Kef. Overcome emotional disturbances, feelings of distress, depression or anxiety by praying, performing jap yagna or doing smruti. Gradually, such feelings will subside and the degree of bliss and happiness experienced will increase. Eventually, you will attain an immunity from everything up to Prakriti Purush, meaning that nothing in this world will affect or cause you to lose your sense of happiness and bliss. You will be in a constant state of happiness and bliss known as Akshardham Nusuk. You will constantly engage your mind, body and soul in the thoughts of the glory of God, Mahima. You will only participate in talking and listening to Mahima. This has been described in Swaminarayn chapter 1, first discourse, and Swaminarayn chapter 1, last discourse. However, for young and old sadhaks alike, the only requirement in their sadhana from the start to the finish is the continuous practice of smruti. Until one can see the Leela, that is, experiencing Maharaj at work, witnessing why he allows certain events to happen, one can only watch and pray. Yogiji Maharaj used to say that each person has a wealth of spiritual knowledge which will be released once he has been purified. True spiritual knowledge, Gnan, is the constant practice of singing and listening to the praises of the Lord and the God-realized saints. Gnan can also be defined as the acceptance of the God-realized saints as the almighty controllers of everyone and everything. They are the omnipresent, omnipotent and omniscient supreme forces who control everything in our lives. Whatever helps us to remain submerged in Mahima is Gnan. If religion, spiritual knowledge, detachment from worldly desires or worship, Dharma, Gnan, Vairagya or Bhakti helps us to realize the Mahima of the God-realized saints as mentioned above, then they are useful in our sadhana. Otherwise, they are useless. They will not be useful in gaining redemption of our soul and will not help us to increase the degree of happiness which we experience over time. Indeed, they may even cause us to feel greater degrees of distress, emotional disturbances and unhappiness. Whatever helps us to remain carefree, happy and conscious that we have attained the association of the Supreme Lord will be useful in our sadhana. All we should do is pray, remain submerged in smruti, and happy in the knowledge that we have recognized God who will redeem our souls. All those who lived according to the principle mentioned above completed their sadhana in a very short space of time. This is indeed the easiest route to attaining bliss and happiness. Although it is such an easy, straightforward route, some people find it difficult to follow. However, we should still persevere with it. An inner ocean of spiritual knowledge exists deep within each person. This knowledge will automatically come to surface when that person has been purified. However, this could take a few years. Therefore, he should pray, remain submerged in smruti and ask the Lord for strength. During this period, others may not realize his spiritual status and will not be able to give him due respect. He may feel lonely and isolated. He may begin to compare himself with others and as a result will experience distress and unhappiness. Therefore, for at least 5 years of one's sadhana, one should persist with prapatti yoga, i.e. the total dependence on the pratyak swarup. The degree of happiness experienced will gradually increase. Therefore, one should take refuge in the God-realized saint and remember that the key to solve all problems is prayer and performing japa-yajna. Simply remain detached and watch what happens within us and others. Do not worry about the ups and downs in your sadhana. You will experience happiness, depression, or compliments, insults, etc. Simply concentrate on the feeling of happiness experienced and continue to pray. Those who practice this in their sadhana were considered by others to be suffering. They, however, felt nothing but bliss and happiness during this period. Come what may, they tried to keep smiling and remain happy and found that they had attained purification. Therefore, let us follow this easy route known as prapatti yoga. May the Lord bless us with the strength to do so.